So one thing that's going to be very important, especially in a losing matchup, is going to be creep aggro manipulation. Are you familiar at all with the concept? Right. That's one way you can do it, but a more advanced, and you use it like that a lot of the time. And if you're just using it like that, that's a good start. But yeah, you pretty much just have to go like Wraithband Branch plus Fairy Fire. You got one shared tango. Uh, you need to try to get at least one, if not two. Branches just so you don't have to walk back to your tree when you're probably going to be like up here, because you could miss a CS or deny for that, or just give them a free CS or free denies. So you just put the branch down and eat it immediately. And then you don't need to have the healing salve in your starting items because you've got courier. So ideally your team gets at least 2 bounty runes, and you'll have enough gold, so once you're in the middle of your creep block, you can buy your salve and send it out to you. And by the time the creeps meet, you'll have your salve. And what you can do by ferrying out the salve like that, instead of starting with it and having that extra damage and branch, is you can at the legend bracket, the enemy mid player is not going to always be so good about doing something like that. So if you see that you have a salve and they don't, then you can leverage that advantage by trading much more than you normally would. Because you'll be able to recover your, 400 to 500 HP, but they won't. So right now, you should be clicking this TA, seeing that she essentially has no regen because she's got just these tangos and she'll have to walk all the way back to the trees. So you just hit her over and over, over and over and over and over, forcing her to use that regen. And going for last hits and denies at the same time when there's an opportunity, but just not letting up on hitting her like that. And if you let her play this game where she's walking back and forth and trying to get the side blade hit on you, then you've already relinquished control of the mid lane. We'll slow it down a little. Just have a bit more focus. Let me go back. So this is where the creeps ended up meeting. So we were talking about it earlier. What do you do right now to help make sure that you're going to get these creeps and you have a better chance of getting these denies? Right. And do you know what the range is roughly for the aggro? It's 500 right now. There's also a 3-second cooldown where if you attack the hero, then for the next 3 seconds the creeps aren't going to aggro you. It used to be that there wasn't a cooldown, and people would just be aggroing all the time, constantly manipulating. So this is sort of, it's a buff for harassment, because if you start clicking before you're in range, then the creeps aren't going to start hitting you for 3 seconds. But it's a nerf to lane control using creep aggro. So it's just a difference, really. Hold on, let me catch up with my train of thought. Alright, so the next thing I wanted to say was the range being 500. The easiest way that I've found to visualize what that range is that the range creep, his attack range is 500. So if you step in front of the range creep's attack range for whichever creep you're trying to aggro towards you, and then attack and start moving back, the creep will follow you pretty much every time. Makes it very simple. You don't have to, just like a shortcut. It's always going to be there. There's always going to be a range creep. Right, so you want to aggro right away, and then the creeps are going to be closer to you, the TA is going to have to be closer to you, and if the TA wants to go for any of these denies, she'll have to walk up like below the high ground, and then that's when you really start laying the hits into her. I mean, when I say just trade hits, you can't just do it haphazardly. You have to do it in such a way where you're going to win the trade. Right. Let's put it back to normal speed here. Alright, so this is, you're playing this pretty well, actually. Right now. You started trading with her when she was within range of the melee creep, and typically that is when TA has refraction up. That is when you want to trade with her, when she's right next to the creep. You want to give her the choice between you taking away all of her refractions and her fighting back, because if she does fight back, then she'll lose the refractions even faster. So what you'll see in like top level mid players is anytime that they're within range of these melee creeps, within that 500 range, and they haven't been aggroed by the enemy, they'll just attack. So because these creeps attacks will add up. That's like 15 damage a hit usually, 15 to 12 depending on how much armor the enemy has. And that, I mean, you know, as silly as it, or I don't know, as small as it sounds, it really adds up, because a lot of times with the fairy fire being a factor, if the creeps can get in those extra hits, then that can be the difference between getting a kill and not getting a kill. And it can be the difference between winning or losing a lane too. So that's another thing to think about when you want to trade. So I mean, it's kind of a simple indicator. If they're next to your creeps, then you should be thinking I should be trading right now. And if the enemy if you're next to the enemy's creeps and they have more, like if you're both next to the creeps and they have more creeps than you, then you should be thinking I shouldn't be trading right now. And it's not always that black and white, but that's a pretty good indicator. And if you start doing that, uh, trading at those times, then you'll quickly learn the exceptions to when you're not going to want to trade. Alright, I want to show you something that you sort of did accidentally. And it's something that you can make use of to help you secure your self-denies and secure your self-last hits, as well as secure harass, another opening, like another window for you. So this creep is going to be the one that's going to die. Watch what happens. You right click her, and I believe what happened was the creep stopped getting attacked by her creeps, and those attacks where the enemy creep stopped attacking yours caused her to miss the last hit. But that's something that you can do on purpose now that you're aware of it. And you can, if you do it right, you can have the creep stop attacking right at the time where they're just not going to get the last hit, so you can come in and get the last hit. Or you can have the creep stop getting attacked intentionally for a long time, and if you're uphill and she's downhill, you can just keep trading and get some shadow raises in even. Particularly value on range creeps, just because they have to go so far up to get the last hit on range creep a lot of the time. Does it end up working? Oh well, that is why you have the cell. Uh, Now I can sort of go more into courier usage. Uh, it's it's almost 3 minutes into the game and you haven't really used the courier yet. Yeah, you just have to, as the mid laner, you have to just, for the first 3 minutes, just try to use because you have a finite amount of trips that the courier could even make. The first trip is going to be yourself, then it's going to be walking back. So the second trip, it could be um, like components for a second Wraith Band, or if you're playing an interior, it could be components for a second uh, null. And it's good to just, even if you don't have the whole thing, just send out as many as the parts sends the recipe as you can. So, like at this point, you weren't really using the courier because you did start with a lot of regen, but in normally what happens is you don't start with any regen besides the pooled tango. So the first trip will be yourself. The second trip, it depends on how the lane is going, but you might need to send out a salve like plus a circlet or immediately afterwards. Uh, don't be afraid to fare yourself mangoes to keep your mana pool up and continue using your nukes. It's very important to secure CS with your nukes when you can't get it 100% with your right click, especially when it's like this. When it's under tower, it's not as important to try to secure it with a nuke because you're at less risk of it getting denied by the enemy. But when it's just in lane like this, that's when you really want to make sure you're using your nuke to secure CS and potentially harass at the same time. So, I haven't really been seeing players get bottled that much on mid lane for a long time, because if you want to go and secure these runes, it's going to be pretty difficult because you're going to be giving your opponent free denies and free last hits. That's why That's why, like, maybe it doesn't seem value to get the send yourself out like constant healing salves and mangoes, but as long as you're sending yourself out additional items that are going to help you continue to last it and help you stay in lane, like you could be sending yourself out more components for a magic wand at the 3-minute mark. If it's relevant, you can send yourself out a raindrop, which you'll get in a lot of matchups in mid, but against TA, that's maybe the one where it's not going to happen. Maybe that could be alright, but the thing is, to double raise the lane, you have to be level 5 in order for you to do enough damage for it to be effective. To just double raise the wave immediately. So maybe think about getting a bottle later on, because right, yes. Like this HP is pretty difficult for you to walk up to these creeps. If you tank like one and another side blade, then you're just at fear of dying. Right. It's kind of you just want to keep topped off, and just don't be afraid to send yourself these consumables, as long as you're sending yourself out stats items at the same time, and you're leveraging it into continuing to bully the enemy mid laner and continuing to get last hits and denies. I would even say that denies are, especially in the first like 1 to 2 creep waves, just getting a couple denies in those first waves can really cement your level advantage and your dominance in a particular matchup. Yeah, definitely. So at this point, when TA gets level 6, you really have to worry about the traps. If you walk up and she has traps on your high ground, and you don't have a sentry to get rid of them, then you're at constant fear of dying because the traps do that damage now. Right there, it's just seems like you just weren't ready. Just a mechanical mistake. You know what you did wrong there, so. And that's where if you were fairing yourself these stats items and you were fairing yourself out the extra regen, then you probably won't have died there. I probably wouldn't have chased it too much after she got her second refraction off and started getting away. I would have just stayed in lane and shoved it in and got damage this catapult. You know, maybe your Pudge is going to flame you, but if you're making the right play, you're going to feel less bad about somebody flaming you. And you can always just mute. That was pretty dangerous. If she just used her traps, then you probably would have died there. With that DD. Even without the DD. She used her refraction well, so when her bonus hits, yeah, she could have ran you down right there. Alright, so at this point, and you could have started doing it earlier. And another reason why people really have been skipping the bottle is the change to the clarity. Since it doesn't break anymore if creeps attack you, what you could have done was once you had level 5, you could have started fairing yourself out clarities and double raised these waves and fell back to these camps. Because once TA hits level 6, then it becomes pretty unlaneable for the vast majority of heroes. Like this money you invested into bottle, it could have been invested into magic wand, boots, some extra regen, some clarities. Yeah, and plus with these, ooh, she should have used trap there.
Yep. This is where I thought I play really foolishly.
If she was ready, then you should have died there too. But it seems like this guy needs a little bit more practice on TA.
I basically tried to wait out her refraction, but I forgot the cooldown is the same as duration, and then I went in and she just refracted and went back on me.
Yeah, so when you're going for kills like that, what you can do is click on TA and see how much longer her refraction is up for, just so that you make sure you're not going right before she's going to have another instance of it. And it's kind of difficult to go for a kill like that on TA, but if it was almost any other hero, you probably would have got the kill because a double raise would have been enough. But the refraction makes it pretty difficult because you have to eat through it first, obviously. I'm surprised you haven't been getting charged more, honestly. Is this
me too.
top
It was kind of
Spirit Breaker farming up here?
Spirit Breaker and Bane were top, I think. It's been kind of hard lane.
Do you have any more questions about this game? We can move on to other
No,
ones at this point.
we can move to another, yeah.
I can't hear you. I think it's on my end. Hold on a sec.
Okay.
Okay, I can hear you now. Yeah. So I said, do you have any more questions about this game? I think we can move on to the other ones at this point. Okay. Yeah, you don't really want to play offlaners in this meta too much that want to leave the lane. You kind of just want to occupy it. And who was laning with you? The Shadow Demon? Right here, this Fairy Fire should definitely be a Mango instead. Other than that, your starting items are completely good. So when you're against Shaman and he's going for this Shackles, it's not that great because in this meta there's going to be a second hero who's just there to interrupt the Shackle. Yeah, blocking them can be good. It doesn't matter that much. I you can just block for the sake of blocking, really. You just want to make sure that you can last hit and also go to the side shop at the same time with your creep positioning, mostly. That's probably the most important thing. And it's also fine to just not block, because the enemy safe laner is probably going to block a little, and it might just go into his tower and cause him to lose last hits. And that's okay, but it also makes it more difficult for you to deny creeps in the first wave. And yeah, it's probably better overall to just block, because if it does go into their tower, then they might just be able to secure that early level 2 against you because you weren't able to get any denies. And having a 1 level advantage 1/2 can be disastrous. So here, definitely just get a Quelling Blade. You have a lot of damage, but 24 more damage is always good. This lane is going pretty well so far. Let's put it back down to normal speed. So definitely just continue to use that creep aggro like that, and where we talked about earlier, using the creep aggro right before a creep is going to die in order to try to secure the CS, can be something you can apply to the side lanes as well. Especially in a melee versus melee matchup, if they're walking up to try to get the last hit on the range creep, just hit them. It seems like you were sort of doing that. Didn't end up mattering, but pretty clear. Mechanical mistakes like that, I'm just not going to touch on. Probably be picking up a magic stick here. That extra burst of mana can help you get another charge off. I definitely think you should be building power treads in this lane. Make sure if you have access to the side shop that you're getting the smaller components as well. Like probably just the gloves of haste in this case, before you complete it. 20 extra attack speed can be the difference between a kill or not. Also makes it much easier to last hit, especially on a hero like Spearbreaker. There you did it again. He went for a creep and you just started hitting him. That's good. You could even be using your charge to try to secure ranged creeps like that. I'm not saying charge the creep, but just charging him. Right, yeah. So, yeah, if he's preoccupied trying to go for the deny, that's, you know, it's like the same concept of him walking up to try to hit the creep, except you've got a way to close the gap. So I guess it's the same thing, except it's aggressive rather than reactionary. And oftentimes, if you know you're going to have difficulty securing CS like that, uh, and they're preoccupied with getting the deny, just getting off, you know, 2 or 3 right clicks can really make big differences in these laning stages. Right, definitely. What's been pretty common is picking a hero, uh, yeah, picking an offlaner and just going for like a Vanguard rush has been pretty popular, just so you can continue to sustain in lane and just stay there. It would have been good this game even. Yeah, don't fall into that trap. It's, you can always go that after the Vanguard if it's the right game for that. But having this Vanguard, I guarantee you, or at least in like the first 15-20 minutes, will make the difference between you dying or not. At least a couple times. So what you can do as Spirit Breaker in particular is, once you have that, it's okay to get these items like brown boots, maybe a definitely quelling blade, definitely stick, and then you can just go to the side shop and once you have your gold, get the ring of health and charge back into lane. Definitely wouldn't have died there if you went for that build. Now all of a sudden you come back into lane and it's pretty impossible, because if Jug sends himself out mana regen, then he's going to have Omni Slash, and I mean, sure, you can tank through it once, but and then what, you know? You can't just stay in lane afterwards. If he has help, maybe even spins into Omni Slashes. I mean, he doesn't have mana for it right now, and he's alone, but I mean, definitely good to come back though. Right now, defend the tower, get all the CS and XP. But don't neglect those these smaller items. Uh, yeah, the wand, very powerful on Spirit Breaker, because that 300 mana burst, that's your entire mana pool. I think Urn's okay, but I definitely do agree with your decision to put Spirit Breaker as the 3 position in this game. And as he's not going to be part of early kills as much, it's good if your Shadow Demon decided to go for it. Which seems like he's not going to. You don't really want to build it on a core most of the time, but you can always go at like after these early items like Treads, Vanguard, Magic Wand, and then during the mid game when you guys are grouping up more and you notice you don't have an Urn, you'll probably just be able to buy it. Usually in these coaching sessions, with how important the lane has been, I've mostly just been going over laning stages with different people, because that's like the #1 thing. You just hop in the replay, you go over the laning stage, and if your laning improves, then um, that's going to inform how you play the rest of the game. If you get off to a good start and win your lane, then the rest of the game becomes much easier. Yeah, it went pretty evenly, but if you didn't neglect those small items, you could have decisively won it. Seems like you just were waiting for a TP that wasn't coming in time. A little bit greedy, but it would have, if your team just TP'd, it would have worked out. I think so. If she had, even if it was late, if she did eventually come and actually got the kill, I don't know what she was scared of. I think she had the focus fire. Oh, never mind, she didn't. Alright, well, if she's not getting the shackle and she's not hitting like 2 power shots, then she's not going to get the kill. Any more from this replay? Yeah, pretty much you just got to work on your laning phase first, and then at the point where you're winning your lane and then you're wondering oh, I lost the game anyway, what could I have done? I think that's when we start looking past the laning stage. Okay. either way. So the way you really want to play support in this patch right now is just always stay within range of the creeps, going for denies and getting last hits that your carry can't get. That's Shadow Shaman is actually, you think he'd be pretty weak in dual lanes because he can't really use his shackle. But what you do is you level your Q, and you sit there and you deny creeps with your 100 fucking base. He's got like almost 80. Just sits there. If they try to go on you, you just right click twice and you press Q. That's a good support that hasn't gotten nerfed. The Shaman. Well, he's gotten nerfed, but he's whatever. Right. Another thing, going to lane with these clarities has really fallen out of favor because you don't want to back off of that creep wave. So just getting the mangoes is preferable, really. You would have been 5 gold short for the double mango, but you could have gotten like 1 mango and 1 clarity instead, I suppose. I think it's okay that you went this much regen. Basically just want to, trade hits when you can. Go for CS and denies. I mean, the CS, if it's at risk of getting denied, then just go for the CS. And if your player is flaming you or getting tilted over it, well, then just doesn't know how to play the game. Not much you can do about it. Much better for you to get the CS than for them to get the deny. Yeah, I hate this fucking stupid ass pudge. Especially on Dire in this exact spot. You just have to expect that it'll be right there and be ready to tango out. Right. Yeah. Kind of unfortunate you just sort of died to the pudge, but I think you can still stay in this lane at least for now. Don't be off to the side trading right clicks though, because it's if you're doing that, then you're not contesting CS, and contesting CS is much more important. Also, if you're off to the side, it makes you more vulnerable to the pudge, because at any point this line can just earth spike you, sidestep, and pudge can hook. I'm not saying they're necessarily going to be able to coordinate that every time or do it every single time you're out of position, but it's something to think about. If you're not right next to the creeps, then you can be vulnerable to the pudge hook. Definitely get the magic stick instead of this windlace. So this is the point where I'm just going to say that Rubik probably wasn't the pick here. Yeah, Rubik, he's a fun hero and all, and he's good in tri-lanes. Just setting up immediately with telekinesis into another disable. But in dual lanes, he's got 1 armor. He's got pretty average attack damage. His nuke it's okay. It's not the best in the world. It's not the worst either. It does damage reduction too. But this is he's pretty mana hungry and doesn't offer that much utility. Right. He's probably, a couple more buffs away from being back. But his laning is just a little bit poor as it is. So at this point, you want to just have been laning this whole time, but you weren't able to do it because the supports. But it's okay to just keep coming back because theoretically your other 2 lanes should be benefiting from having 3, but it seems like Timbersaw is having a fine time down here and your mid's losing, so you guys just lost all 3 lanes. It's going to be hard to come back from this. This is where, if you wanted to play, I don't know if Wind Ranger is still like one of your favorite heroes, but if you want to just first pick a support for the top lane on Radiant, then Wind Ranger is a fine choice. At this point, you just have to keep coming back to lane because you don't have enough kill threat as Rubik to justify roaming like this, and you want to be around here at the 5-minute mark to contest the 5-minute bounties. And if these supports, maybe they can stay up here all fucking game and just secure the anti-mage's farm, but if you're contesting his CS, then he's still going to have slower timings. Potentially giving your PL a chance to hit his timings a little bit faster. I mean, I'm not going to tell you if you lose all 3 lanes, then it's impossible to win. But say the odds of winning at the beginning of the game are 50%. If you lose all 3 lanes, it becomes like 90-10. Depending on how many throws and how severe the throws are. Any game can be thrown. Shadow Shaman's fine in the safe lane. I think he's underrated. He doesn't get picked up as much as he should, I think. He's kind of overshadowed by some other heroes. CM last patch was an extremely strong pick in either side lane. Just because, I don't know if you saw that Purge video. Right. In general, though, that's the type of support that you want to be getting, like one that has one that's good at laning. And Crystal Nova is like a prime example of a good laning skill. So anybody that has a good laning skill is nice. Trina has been pretty popular in North America lately, just because it's always been like an NA darling hero. But also, the lead sheet is pretty nice for trading. Got a bit nerfed lately. The way it gets played is you go 2-2 at level 4, and then you start maxing out nature's guys, so you can get that fade time all the way down and have the bonus move speed. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You don't want to do it once you have it at level 4. You don't want to do consecutive hits because you'll be able to perma root them at that point. Well, not necessarily permanent, but his right. So you get 2 of these skill points for laning, and just slow, heal even, and then max this out. Start getting levels in living armor. Get a meteor hammer. It's good. You can alt and then meteor hammer. You can meteor hammer from invis to push out lanes. Normally you have no tower damage as treant because you don't want to run up to hit the tower. Meteor hammer from invis to get these tier 1s down. Maybe they don't even realize you're doing it. Definitely don't skip brown boots, don't skip magic wand. I'd say after the meteor hammer, picking up an urn is pretty good. Just going the super urn once you have that super urn and you have the living armor, your sustain is very, very high. Yeah, it's not going to help you lane. Maybe it saves somebody all the way on the other side of the map, but it'll be at the cost. Not even a value point. You hope that your lanes don't lose so hard that they're going to lose their towers, and then by the time the post laning stage starts, you don't level his leech seed past 2. Sometimes even if you don't need the second point, then you can skip that, so you can get more levels of living armor earlier. Like, sometimes you'll just win the lane immediately off the back of Treant Protector having all that damage. Early on, like right away, I would say that Lead Seed is probably a better skill point at level 1 compared to Nature's Guys. Just get a stout shield, lots of regen, and just deny creeps. Nobody can out deny you. Yeah, pretty high. Other than that, Just any hero that has a laning skill as a support is a good pick. Like AA, for instance, doesn't really have a laning skill. He doesn't have a way to to secure CS and secure harass at the same time. Like it's basically a support is going to be a good laner for the same reason why a mid laner is going to be a good laner most of the time. Winter Wyvern has been making a comeback because people have realized that this Splinter Blast, going the Splinter Blast level 1 and pretty much just spamming it off cooldown is pretty good. It's 100 damage on a 7-second cooldown is pretty nice. Plus it slows. It doesn't just do damage, it also provides some utility. So that kind of goes with why CM was good. CM's probably still good, but that 100 to 130, that's a really big deal. I think that will definitely take care of it being first ban, first pick every single time for TI. It's kind of unfortunate because, you know, as cancer as playing against CM has been lately, I also like CM. I like her to have a place in the meta, and people figuring out this Nova. It's pretty cool because when I do play support, I like to play Crystal Maiden, but it's not good most of the time lately. Jakiro's good. His dual breath at level 1 is one of the strongest spells in the game. At level 1, you know, kind of similar to CM in the sense that it's doing damage, it's doing slow, and it's doing attack slow. 5-second duration. It's pretty nice. Whenever you have dual breath up, you get it on them, and then for the 5-second duration you trade. And you just you do both at the same time. Harassing, it can, as we've seen, it can set up getting you denies. What other supports? Jakiro is definitely one of the top tiers right now, I think, for 5 position, even 4. Dazzle's okay. That's kind of more matchup dependent though. Also, like which hero you have in your lane, because his shadow, his poison touch now, if you keep hitting them, it just lasts forever. It refreshes every time they get attacked, at the cost of it only lasting 4 seconds at level 1. So that can be good if you're against like a melee hero and you want some more sustain. As well with the Shadow Word. Quite a powerful laner because of that Shadow Word healing the creeps. And again, secure CS, do damage to the enemy, and it also has the added utility of healing yourself and your ally. I think he's overrated now. Yeah, the nerf to Shadow Word definitely cost Warlock a lot. It's like the same thing as CM. Like, he's going to have pretty much one less Shadow Word early on, and that really does make a huge difference. If you know that your safe lane, if you're playing position 5 and you know that your safe lane is going to pick really greedy, and there's no other way to keep him in the lane other than picking Warlock and putting Shadow Word on him, then he's still a good pick for that. He's just you just really have to make sure you're picking for the laning stage right now. Yeah. If you're doing all those things better than your opponent, then you'll win the lane. And you know, barring any ridiculously bad matchup, like I don't know, any melee hero versus Monkey King, like if he's against 2 melees, then you know, even if you're doing all that better, Monkey King's probably still going to get his Jingu up and maybe get kills. But you know, just focus on laning and thinking about what you have to be doing in lane, and you know, try to think rather than in terms of who's meta and who's not meta. Just think in terms of, you know, what heroes have good laning skills and which one of those spells is going to give you the utility that's going to help you in the lane. I think that's probably a good point to wrap up. My notebook. I usually at the end of the session I ask the student in their own words to summarize what we went over. One moment though, I need my pen. I think I'm going to have to go get one. I don't see one on my desk. No, never mind, I found it. Alright, go ahead. Alright, that sounds pretty accurate. Any more questions before we wrap this up then? Okay.